Welcome to today's training, Literacy and Science. Today we are going to look at how to build stronger scientists through literacy both at home and in the classroom. We will look at ways to introduce and build understanding of fiction and nonfiction literature, creating a stronger science background and fostering curiosity for the world around them. We are so glad that you're here with us today. Here in Hillsborough County, our vision is to prepare students for life. We know that students are constantly learning, both in the classroom and at home. So it is important that we work together to help our students continue their learning in both environments. Our mission is to provide an education and the supports which enable each student to excel as a successful and responsible citizen. We are very fortunate to have your support, and we are thrilled to be able to share some strategies that both teachers and caregivers alike can use to help our students grow as scientists. There are Florida state standards for ELA and math, but we currently still use the next generation Sunshine State standards for science. As a caregiver, you can support these standards by reading and investigating science with your child at home. Science literacy isn't about figuring out how to solve equations like E equals mc squared. Rather, it's about being able to read an article in the newspaper about the environment, about healthcare, and figuring out how to vote on it. It's about being able to prepare nutritious meals. It's about being able to think your way through the day. And that is what we want for students, to be able to think about everyday experiences. Scientific literacy means that a person can ask, find, or determine answers to questions derived from curiosity about everyday experiences. It means that a person has the ability to describe, explain, and predict natural phenomena. It is important to have scientifically literate children because we are preparing students for the future. They may be able to problem solve issues that we have not even encountered yet. It is imperative to provide ample opportunities for students to use critical thinking and decision-making skills based on their natural curiosity in order for them to be scientifically literate citizens.
There are a variety of texts that students can read. Two main types or genres include fiction and non-fiction text. Other types include poetry, biography, mythology, and graphic novels. Please find the tips for reading bookmarks in your packet. If you are using a fiction text, you will be sharing a make-believe story. As you read and explore the pictures, you should note to your child that the author may include real facts in fiction writing. Talk to your child about how to confirm factual information found in works of fiction. Here are some additional tips for reading fiction books with kids. Take your time and talk about the story with your child. Ask your child questions. Explore the pictures with your child. Read with expression. Change your voice or how fast you read to create excitement. Ham it up. You don't need to read every word. Keeping your child interested is the goal. By folding the tips for reading with kids handout, it can also be used as a bookmark to help support you while reading at home with your child. Most of the texts students are exposed to in science class are going to be nonfiction or true. Nonfiction books are generally centered around a specific topic or idea and will learn new facts throughout the book. When selecting a nonfiction book, find something your child is naturally curious about. Animals are a great topic to start working with your child when using nonfiction because children usually have a favorite animal to connect with. Here are some additional tips for reading nonfiction books with kids. Wonder out loud. As you are reading or after, talk about facts you find interesting or questions you have. Don't be afraid to jump around. Reading passages that especially interest your child. You don't have to read a nonfiction book straight through. Show your child how to use the table of contents, section headings, index, and word list glossary to find answers to specific questions. The table of contents is located at the front of a book. The table of contents displays a list of the big ideas within the book and where to find them. The index is an alphabetical list of almost everything covered within the book, with page numbers. Readers can use the index to look up specific terms or concepts and go right to the specific information they're looking for. The glossary is located at the back of the book. A glossary contains key words that are related to topic and their definitions. These definitions provide more information about new vocabulary words. Captions are usually right under photographs, figures, maps, and charts. Captions give a quick summary of what information is presented in the graphic. Photos and charts can contain a lot of information and be found by reading the charts and photos found within the nonfiction text. Readers will first need to figure out what information is presented. Then they'll need to discover how to navigate the information. Some charts use clear labels, others require more careful examination. Help your reader learn more about the different ways information can be displayed. Please reference the parent MyON handout in your packet. MyON is an online reading resource that is free to all Hillsborough County students. Students use MyON at school, but it is also available from home. To log in, go to myon.com and type the name of your school in the school name box. In the box labeled username, type your child's school ID, which is also their lunch number. The password is your child's 2-digit birth month and 4-digit birth year. MyON offers a variety of genres, topics, and levels of books for all students. Students even have the option to have the book read to them. For our purposes today, we will reference books available from the library and MyON. If the book referenced is available on MyON, it will have the MyON symbol next to it. Please reference the Tips for Reading with Kids handout found in your packet. Here are a few science question stems that can be used when reading science-related fiction or nonfiction text. You may want to cut them out of your parent packet and use them as a bookmark for easy access while reading with your child. We will be practicing using some of these later, so keep them handy.
We can use a variety of books, both fiction and nonfiction, to foster science through literature, but we really want to develop students who are scientifically literate. So how do we do that? We need to not only read about the world around us, but explore and investigate it. For the remainder of our time, we will look at several science-related topics and some activities to help nurture scientific thinking. Many of the activities and texts mentioned in this module have been included in your participant packet for you to use at home. Keep in mind, we want to encourage students to explore science, so have fun with these activities. We're going to do an example together using the topic of flight. There are a variety of books to choose from, but we're going to look at the book Flight by Louise Spilsbury. This book is a nonfiction book that explores the science behind flight. It looks at topics such as how planes, helicopters, and balloons fly. It also looks at the concept of gravity, streamlining, drag, and thrust. As we discussed earlier, nonfiction books do not have to be read from start to finish. So our purposes today, we will read an excerpt titled Hang Gliders. Now we are going to look at 3 pages from the book Flight. While we are reading, keep in mind the Tips for Reading Nonfiction Books with Kids handout.
Hang gliders. When you throw a paper airplane, it flies a little, even though it is heavier than air. How does that happen? Planes and hang gliders stay in the air because they have wings. Wings and lift. Wings provide planes and hang gliders with a force called lift. Lift is an upward push that comes from the air. The force of lift is opposite to the force of gravity. When lift is greater than gravity, a wing goes up into the air. When lift is equal to gravity, it stays at the same level.
Which bullet point on the Tips for Reading Nonfiction handout could you use with this page? We could see how the graphics support the text by looking at the diagram, caption, and photo. A question you could ask your child may be, how do these features help us have a better understanding of how gliders fly? Now let's use page 11 to practice asking questions to support comprehension of the text using the question stems bookmark handout in your packet.
How lift works. A wing is curved to create lift. Air blowing over the top of a curved wing has further to go, so it travels faster than the air below. That means it has less time to press down on the wing from above. Air below the wing has more pushing power than air above, so it pushes the wing upward.
Some sample questions may be, how could you draw, model, or explain when it comes to lift? We could ask the question, how could you model lift? And once again, you may want to point out to your child how the graphics support further understanding of the text. Let's look at this page now. Using the Question Stems handout, create a possible question you could ask your student about this page.
What a drag! If wings create lift force, why do paper airplanes stop flying? Paper planes and hang gliders are slowed down and stopped by another force. This force is called drag. Drag is the force of air that pushes against moving objects. It slows things down or even pushes them backward. When paper planes and hang gliders move through the air, drag pushes against them. When they slow down, air flows more slowly over their wings. This means there is less lift force to fight gravity. When this happens, the paper plane has to land.
So some questions you may have created. In your own words, what is drag? What would happen if there was no drag? How could you change the amount of drag impacting a paper airplane? Now that we have built some background knowledge for understanding gliders, you could investigate a little further with some activities. Our first suggested activity is taking a virtual field trip to the National Air and Space Museum to explore flight a little further. The web address is located in your packet. When you click on the link, How Things Fly, Forces of Flight, you can explore how different components can impact flight. Design and construct a variety of paper airplanes, test lots of different styles, and run trials to see which plane flies the highest, longest, and fastest. This website allows students to apply what they have learned from the text and can pique their curiosity even further. Another way to apply the reading is to design and test real paper airplanes. So let's take it another step and build a paper airplane glider. For this activity, you will need one sheet of paper and your imagination. For those of you who may not have experience building a paper airplane glider, the website also has directions for a variety of airplane designs. Let's think back to the glider and the text we read. How did the information from the text help you in the construction of your airplane? Possible connections to the text may include wing design, how lift was affected, and how to decrease drag. Additional activities to explore flight may be found in your participant packet titled Use the Force and Wing It.
We are going to briefly highlight some other topics and ideas that can be easily implemented at home. Here are some books focused on the topic of birds. Birds, Winged and Feathered Animals by Suzanne Slate. Hey Owl by Arthur Yorkrinks. Look Up! Birdwatching in Your Own Backyard by Annette Kate. Olivia's Birds. Saving the Golf by Olivia Bowler. Again, we have fiction, nonfiction, and MyON books to choose from. All of these texts may be interesting to a student who is curious about nature and animals. We have brainstormed some activities to connect to the bird text reference on the previous slide. These activities include building a bird out of Legos, recycled materials, or scraps of fabric, making a bird feeder out of some favorite snacks, investigating a bird's eyesight by creating an optical illusion. This activity is referenced in your packet titled The Eyes Have It. Observe and identify birds with eyes and ears. All of these activities connect engaging hands-on science experiences to literature. Here are some books focused on the topic of building and construction. Again, we have fiction, nonfiction, and MyON books to choose from, including Harness It! Invent New Ways to Harness Energy in Nature by Tammy Ayers. Roberto, The Insect Architect by Nina Layden. Construction Zone by Cheryl Willis Hudson. This theme is a great connection to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To support our growing scientists, engineers, and mathematicians, Each Monday, students take part in Inquiry Monday, where they go through a STEM design challenge scenario. The following activities are very similar in that your student must utilize creative problem solving to produce a product. Let's take a look at some design challenge building activities. Try out one of the activities from the MyON book, Harness It, Invent New Ways to Harness Energy in Nature. Or use dried pasta or empty paper towel rolls to design a structure. You can even create a blueprint of your dream house using Architect Studio 3D. This web address can be found within your participant packet. After the design process, discuss the pros and cons of your design. The directions for several of these activities can be found in your participant packet. However, feel free to provide students with a variety of materials that you may have available at home and simply let your student freely design on their own. Here are some books and stories centered around stars. Her Seven Brothers by Paul Goebel. Find the Constellations by H.A. Ray. Stars by Seymour Simon. Constellations by Martha E. H. Rusted. The Story of Orion, a Roman Constellation Myth by Thomas Kingsley Trope. Myths about the formation of our constellations. Online myths about how the constellations form. This time, we included an online mythology website, fiction and nonfiction texts, as well as MyON books to choose from. The topic of space and stars is one of heightened curiosity for many students of varying grade levels. Please reference the packet materials, Twinkle Twinkle, Reach for the Stars, and Stellar Author Activity pages. Here are some activities we thought of to connect to the star text. Create a model of a constellation. Go stargazing outside or use an online planetarium to gaze at the stars inside. Use a star chart to identify a cluster of stars and create your own constellation. And write a myth on how it was formed. The directions for all of these activities are included within your packet.
The goal of literacy and science is to develop in students a curiosity about the world around them. By using text and hands-on explorations, students can better make sense of the world and are empowered to make informed decisions about the world in which they live. With your guidance and support, our students will become independent readers and learners that not only understand what they read, but can also question and create beyond the text. Thank you for joining us today. Many of today's activities came from Reading Rockets, a web-based resource. We have included the web address for you to reference for additional ideas and activities to do with your students at home.